The NCAA should remove the restriction preventing athletes from being paid. So the government team is going to be arguing for this. The opposition team is going to be arguing against it. Now, without any further ado, let's welcome up the government team.
Alright, we're going to go ahead and get started with our resolution today being the NCAA should remove the restrictions preventing athletes from being paid. Our little resolutional analysis is because of the word should being in there. This means that we're calling an action to make a plan to change status quo. So with that, we're going to get started right now with a few key definitions. The only one I'm going to give you, because the only one needing one, is the NCAA, and we're going to define that as the National Collegiate Athletic Association. So to restate the resolution, the National Collegiate Athletic Association should remove the restrictions preventing athletes from being paid. Our criteria for this round is going to be cost-benefit analysis, meaning it's going to be more cost-beneficial to the people involved. Our background for this is that scholarships are awarded to students, but they are restricted on what they can be spent on for tuition, room, board, books, and other school-based things. And right now, students are not being paid anything in commission for their hard work and dedication to these teams. So our plan is that the National Collegiate Athletic Association will remove the restriction precluding the ability for student athletes to get paid. Our agent for this round is going to be the National Collegiate Athletic Association. Our funding is going to be individual member schools, and our enforcement is going to be the NCAA. So with that, let's get into our first advantage, that being increased performance. Our harms right now, these are the problems in the current system that our plan solves for. So with that, our harms are that college athletes cannot be paid by their colleges because of this current restriction on them. Our second harm is that athletes have to not only focus on games and practice, but also maintaining a GPA to remain on this team for this sport, but also for holding down a job to pay for extra living expenses that occur throughout their year while away at school. And this leads to a decrease in their studies, a decrease in their attention to this sport, a decrease in their performance for that sport because now they're stressing about everything, and a decrease in their health because of that stress. Our link is that the plan passes and colleges are now able to pay their student athletes. Our internal link is that our first one is that colleges are now able to pay their student athletes. Our second internal link is that student athletes have the opportunity to get extra money for daily living expenses, and these athletes can now focus on education and studies and their athletic performance instead of how they're going to make their cost of living. Our impacts to this are that it will increase athletic performance because now they won't have that extra added stress of having to try and maintain their cost of living. It will increase their academic performance because they will no longer be having to go straight from practice to a job while trying to maintain that GPA. And it will also increase the health of these athletes because now they will no longer be forced to sacrifice their sleep and their health to try and juggle their daily life. Moving on to our second advantage of self-worth. Our harms, first, are that student athletes are treated as a commodity and currently feel underrated because of this. Our second one is that student athletes are signing memorabilia and hawking or trading merchandise to try and get money, but are in violation of the NCAA because of doing that, but they're doing this so that they can try and create that extra income so they can maintain their cost of living. And the NCAA, an example of this is that the NCAA released a video game in 2013 that featured student athletes from specific teams, but those student athletes did not receive a commission from that. Our internal link is that the restriction will be lifted and student athletes will be able to get paid. Our impacts is that students who sacrifice hours, health, and their education to do best for these sports programs now have the ability to get compensated for that sacrifice. Students share in the profits made off of them or their likeness. And with that, you're going to be voting for the government team. Thank you.
How's everybody doing tonight? Alright, so for those of you who are flowing for speech 6, I actually will be going off case, so I have 2 disadvantages. But the first paper I want you to have actually is the top of case, because I just want to make an overview for you guys. Is everybody ready? Teams? Alright, 4 minutes, here we go. At the end of the day, just like most of you, I would love to be paid if I was a college athlete, but let's look at the definitions. This is the NCAA. So unfortunately for all of us at community colleges, we get nothing. How unequal and unfair is that? Secondarily, let's look to the plan text. It says they remove the restriction. It never says that anyone is guaranteed a check. This is only going to come from the universities who have money. So when we look towards people like Louisville who won March Madness, yeah, they can pay their athletes, but maybe not us small state schools like SF State who actually did really good this year. So this is really unfair. Now let's move on to our disadvantages. The first disadvantage is entitled a decreased parity, meaning only more teams are going to be capable of winning. The uniqueness point here is that in the current system, we always look for Cinderella stories. Like, let's take our own home teams, for example. The Warriors just made it to the playoffs, and I know a lot of you guys are rooting for them, but there's a Cinderella story coming, right? However, in the current system as well, there's certain schools like Oregon who has 13 different uniforms just for their home team, whereas there's other schools who wear the same uniform for home and away. So we're just showing you how some schools have more money in comparison to others. So when the plan passes on the link level, our first internal link that we're going to see is it takes away the chance for lesser opportunity teams to be competitive because they won't be able to afford athletes. Just real quick, let me paint this for you. If I'm Louisville and I have thousands of dollars, I'm going to get the top athletes at my school so I can always win March Madness. But San Francisco State, Long Beach State, all those people who we like to root for because they're the Cinderella story are never going to have that opportunity to win. So when we go to the impact level, the top caliber athletes are always going to go to the top schools because that's where they're getting paid the most. Which means secondarily, this widens the gap in the talent pool because top athletes will be going to the best paying schools, leaving athletes who are not as amazing to the hometowns. Now let's take Jadeveon Clowney, for example. He was someone who was offered scholarships to all the top schools in the country, but he stuck with South Carolina because that was his hometown. These kind of stories are never going to happen because athletes will always go where the money is. So therefore, our impact level mean the same teams are over and over again going to be in the March Madness and the top tournaments, which means we're never going to see the Cinderella stories. So how we like to root for the Warriors is never going to happen. And that means that we're never going to see something like in 2011 when VCU hit Butler in the final. So small schools and Cinderella stories aren't going to last, which means kids are now going to also be recruited as early and earlier because schools are always going to look for what's going to benefit them the most. And right now, schools already look at 8th graders. So they're going to go to elementary school and put way more focus on sports, which means they lose sight of education and what's important. But even more so, let's look to our second disadvantage, which is actually titled Athletes Become Commodities. This actually turns their entire second advantage, while making their arguments work negatively for our side. The uniqueness point here is they say it removes the restriction, right? So pretty much anyone can pay for them. Therefore, Nike and companies who donate equipment to certain schools and athletes can pay whoever they want to turn them into a sponsorship or a product. And no longer are we going to care about athletes and their health, but just as numbers. Therefore, the link is that plan passes. The internal link is that Nike and other companies can pay for athletes to wear their brand, and they're only going to be treated as a product. So they're not actually caring about their people, they're caring about who's making the most money. So when we go to the impact level, we're going to see that companies care about the brand. So when people like Kevin Ware are injured, it doesn't matter. Sit down, we have somebody else who we can pay to wear our brand. That is so bad for the health of our individuals. But also on the second level, because athletes think they're so great and they're getting paid, and their schools are on the national board and they're getting paid, they're going to go into the drafts earlier and earlier. And by declaring draft eligibility, I take away my eligibility in college, which means if I don't get drafted, no more scholarship, no more pay. I am in debt. That is negative because I thought I was good. So in the effects big cost-benefit analysis, this is negative for the athletes, and just put all these arguments against their case. And the fact that it doesn't help their self-worth, and it doesn't increase performance because they're going to be actually putting more time into the athletics to get more money. Vote negative.
So for those of you following the debate, we're going to go top of case, the disadvantages in order, and then the advantages, which if you saw through her speech, she did not touch at all. And this is, I'll just tell you why this is important when I get into the speech. All right, you guys ready? Okay, top of speech. Their only argument on the top of speech of our plan is that we do not guarantee money to these people. But when you look at status quo, in the current system, colleges cannot pay student athletes. They are banned because of the NCAA. So if our plan changes that, at least these students, these student athletes, have the opportunity to get money. We are changing the problem in the current system and actually benefiting these students because now they have the opportunity to get money to do so. It's going to be good for the government team because we're actually giving these students the opportunity to gain money. In the current system, they do not. Now going to the disadvantage one of decreasing parity, where the argumentation here is that other colleges have a lot of money. For example, Oregon, they have 13 different uniforms. Well, it doesn't matter what you're wearing if you're getting beat by other colleges. So it doesn't matter how many uniforms you're wearing. If you are good at playing, then you're going to win. Okay, now looking at their argumentation in the internal link scenario, where they're saying that some colleges have a bunch of money and that they'll always win that way. But this does not link to our plan because we don't cause this problem of colleges having so much money and that they're always winning. That's a hasty generalization that money equals winning. All right. Okay, so if money always means people winning, then these in the current system, student athletes do not have money, so that means they don't win. But what about those people who are naturally talented, who don't have the opportunity to be able to compete because they have to worry about a job, they have to worry about their grades and keeping them up, so they don't have the time to do everything. So this disadvantage goes out the window because they're not proving how our plan causes this problem of some colleges having more money, and at least we're trying to fix the problem with our plan. Now going to the second disadvantage of athletes or commodities. Okay, look at this. In the current system, colleges cannot pay these college athletes because of the NCAA. So colleges cannot give these students who are working so hard for their college to represent them in sports because they would be punished by the NCAA. Not only would the college be punished, but the students themselves would be punished because these colleges are giving them money. We're getting rid of that punishment for these student athletes and these colleges. So in fact, we're not making athletes commodities, we're giving them a chance to get money because that's what they deserve. They've worked so hard, they put so much time and hours into practice. Not only do they keep their grades up, but they represent their schools in a good way. Now going to our advantages, which they did not touch at all. So you'll be flowing all of this through, and this just shows how the government is winning. Increase in performance, where we have shown you through our advantage that with our plan, we give them the opportunity to get money. So they don't have to worry about holding another job, and they can now focus more of their time on their studies, on their academics, and you can cross-apply their argumentation that we're decreasing academics. We're actually increasing it because we're giving them time and money to focus on those things. And not only that, that would increase the health of these athletes because now they're less stressed about the job, money, and practice. Now going to our second advantage of self-worth, where they did not touch anything at all as well, so you'll be flowing all of this through, that now these students, they're getting what they deserve. They're getting money from these colleges that they're representing. So you'll be voting for the government team because we're giving these student athletes what they deserve. Money for what they've done to represent their colleges. So you'll be voting for the government team.
Colleges, so you're going to flow that across because we don't get it. It's only affected big schools who are actually in the NCAA. So, sorry, we're out of luck. But also they say status quo, the colleges can't pay students. But when schools are already seeing budget cuts, they don't have any money to shell out additional money to students after the pay rate. So when we're already paying vital school taxes, and just because we get rid of the restriction doesn't mean suddenly colleges are going to have extra money to pay the student athletes. We still are doing cuts right now, so nobody's really going to get this money from the colleges. So going on to the first advantage, they try to tell you that this is going to cause increased performance for the athletes. However, this is only going to increase the performance for the athletes who get paid. This is only going to go to the best student athletes out there, as my partner pointed out. So if you're mediocre, or even if you're just good. You're not going to get any of this money. Only if you go to these high name brand schools like Louisville, Duke, all of these high paying schools that have enough money to have their own channels. So people here in community colleges won't see anything, and neither will even the good and great athletes. Only those with supernatural talent who are amazing athletes. Also, this works on our side because health is lost and people have to work hard to be the best that they can, and they still aren't getting paid for this. This is also going to increase stress in students if they don't get paid for anything. Because if you have to keep working harder and harder to try and get paid, and you still don't see any of this money because people don't think you're good enough, isn't that also going to hurt your mental health and make you feel like, gee, maybe I'm not that good enough? But also going to speak to their second advantage, which is that of self-worth. I can't talk. But they try to tell you that people who get paid are going to be great, cool, I'm doing wonderful things. However, what if you don't get paid? Isn't that going to be a huge blow to your ego? Because the large majority of student athletes are not going to be seeing this money, especially when schools are seeing cuts and only these these colleges that make a lot of money are actually going to be helped. So you're going to see a huge blow to the student athletes who don't get this paid. People who don't get offered a lot of money are going to have a huge blow to their self-esteem and feel like, gee, maybe I shouldn't even do this anymore. And it will take the joy out of the sport. Going on to our disadvantages. This is this decreasing parity. She says what you're wearing doesn't matter if you win. However, if schools are getting donated a bunch of money right now, they can only donate for equipment. However, now the schools can donate, these brands like Nike can donate for whatever they want. So they can help get the best equipment, they can help get them bigger gyms, anything that they need to give them the upper hand, they can now get this. The only reason that Oregon has 13 uniforms is because that's the only thing Nike can donate right now. But once we open up the airway, they'll be able to donate anything their heart desires. So this is going to affect people. And she says that they're not causing a problem. However, if they allow for people to pay them, anybody, this isn't just allowing schools to pay student athletes, this is allowing anyone. So this allows for them to get a lot more money, and this is going to cause for Louisville and all these schools with extra money to get the top athletes. So we will see all of these top caliber schools getting the main athletes, and only natural talents will be paid. So this is going to have a huge blow to people like community colleges, all these smaller schools will not be able to help them. So you won't cross all of my partners' analysis. We won't see VCU and Butler in the Final Four like we did this year. We will have no more Cinderella story. But also going on to our second advantage, the athletes are now going to become commodities. She says the only thing she puts on here is that colleges can give them money now. So schools and kids can't give them money now. So schools and kids get punished. However, as I said, the schools don't have any money to give them. So it will just be name brands like Nike and then donating money. Also, the NCAA gives scholarships, full ride scholarships to these students. Isn't that enough money? They shouldn't have to shell out more money to them. They get money all the time.
I agree.
Alright, I'm going to wrap it up for you guys on our side. You guys ready? Alright. At the end of the day, everyone, the NCAA has one job, and that's to provide an equal playing field. If they allow student athletes to get paid, and top name universities are the ones with the most bucks, then all the best athletes go there, and that whole level playing field is skewed. And that's the #1 reason you have to vote against this plan. Remember at the Topical case where I tell you that us as community college students aren't going to see any money from this? And the main reason you vote against it is because they lift a restriction, but all of their advantages don't really tie when there's no guarantee of money in their hands. So I would love to see it paid, but I think we should leave that to the pro sports and where it's really important. So now let's go to the disadvantages and how they really outweigh in a cost-benefit analysis paradigm. Disadvantage 1 tells you that at the end of the day, all we're going to see is the same teams over and over again. And I don't know about all of you guys, but I'm getting kind of tired of LeBron, so I would not like to see this in college sports as well. We need to see different people and have the Cinderella stories thrive, because that's what improves ratings and that's what gets our attention. So if we allow this ban to be lifted, all we're going to see is the top schools always over and over again in the Final Four and never see anything fun for us to watch. And hometown schools are never going to have an advantage because those with the most money are going to have the best athletes. But secondarily on disadvantage 2, where we tell you that kids come commodities. Put this right next to their advantage 2 that says it increases self-worth. Unfortunately, when Nike and other schools are only paying for athletes to provide a product, we don't care about their health. If you break your leg, sorry Kevin Moore, sit down, because we have more people who we can give money to. And that's going to take away the mental health, that's going to take away the focus on education, and that's going to take away everything, because all they're focused on is getting money in their hands. So this plan in a big picture is very negative, and I would love to give money to student athletes, including ourselves, but remember, their plan doesn't do that, and it doesn't guarantee money. So as much as you would love that to happen, you have to look at the facts here, and when it tells you that the same teams always win, if children become commodities, which hurts self-worth, and remember, they get scholarships now, why should they get any more money? We love athletes, but this is unfair.
Got this shit.
Okay, everybody ready? We'll do a quick topic case, and then a quick overview on our advantages as to why the government team is clearly winning this debate.
Yeah, go!
Alright, we're going to start right now by telling you that our plan does something to uniquely help college student athletes. Because right now, they're being treated as a commodity and that they are putting all their time and effort into these programs that they are not getting compensated for at all. So when you look down on our case with that, how they state that that there is no guarantee a check will get to these students, but if you go to a school and you state, yes, I want to be in this program, they're going to find the money to get you that check because they want to keep you there. So going on to our advantage one of it increases performance. When we state that by getting these college students a check, that it's going to increase their performance because it will decrease stress. They even say in their own rhetoric that it increases stress because these students are not being paid. They don't want to change anything. We are doing something to benefit student athletes, to help them out so that they can decrease that stress, so that we can have better players, so that we can have other teams in March Madness, so that they don't have to worry about holding down that job, so that they don't have to worry about trying to maintain that GPA while trying to go to school, while trying to do this activity while also trying to hold down the job. And then on advantage 2 of self-worth, these students are already seeing that they're being used in these games, their likenesses all around, and they're not getting compensated for that at all. And the opposition team wants to tell you that by passing our plan, that gets worse. But we're uniquely telling you that by passing our plan, we are making things better. And that is why you are going to be voting for the government team. Because we are doing something to help these student athletes get that pay so that they do not have to try and hold down that extra job, so that they can afford the price of living. We are trying to help them out. And because of that, that is why you are definitely going to be voting for the government team today. Okay? Even when the leader of opposition got up here and dropped our 2 advantages, that is uniquely hurtful to them because that states that they are conceding to that. That yes, they do agree to that. So they agree that our plan increases performance and increases self-worth, and that is why you're voting for the government team today.
Government! Man, I have a lot of haters tonight. A lot of shame. Wow. Keep knowledge shame. Shame that. Shame. All right. So look, before we actually decide who's going to win, let's give a round of applause to both. Most people, it's tough to come up here. Not me, but other people. So, all right. So I'm gonna say here's one team, and if you guys like that team, you can give them a round of applause, and then I'm gonna do it with each team. Whoever gets the louder applause is gonna win tonight. So, who thinks that we should start paying athletes and they are underpaid? Let's hear it for the government team. If you like to hear it. All right, now, how about the opposition team? Well, they're still cutting me off, so I guess probably you guys before you leave. One, how did you guys like all the different events tonight? Did you guys have a good time? One thing you remember too, all of our competitors were in the same seat you guys are. So any one of you is capable to do what they did tonight. So just keep that in mind. Also want to go by just some quick classes you can join. If you liked hearing the debate tonight and think you can maybe do debate, remember that there's only one communication class we have to take right now. Let's start taking more classes if you enjoy this type of event. So, if you want to take debate, sign up for COM 6 in the fall, and you guys can start doing debates on your own just like that, and you guys can argue what you think about college athletes and that good stuff. Another class to keep in mind is COM 10, which is interpersonal communication. It's taught by many teachers here and also gives you a real chance to express yourself and communicate with others. Another class would be COM 12. It's a new class we're starting. It's called interactional communication. And remember, instead of doing like tests and essays and all this tough stuff, you guys can take these classes and it's a lot easier and more fun, I think, personally. So keep that in mind. And you want to take one COM class to think about it. Another class, COM 15, is interpretation of literature. Did you guys like that boxing piece tonight? The duel? That's all an example of interpretation of literature. So if you guys think you can do that, get an A and grab a book. It's a lot easier than other classes, so think about it. Another class too is COM 75. All you sports fans out there, we actually have our own sports broadcasting program right now. You guys want to get on TV, get behind doing different volleyball, basketball, sports events? Go sign up for COM 75. We'll get you guys set up and broadcasting all Solano games. It's real fun. And last but not least, if you think you want to join the team, we have Speech 50. Think about joining. Come to our room. It's in 1635. We're always willing to sign more people up, so that's one thing to keep in mind. One last final pause, and hey, thank you guys for participating. I really appreciate it.